The left and the right genuinely do speak two completely different languages. And as soon as the left understands that part of their job is to act as an interpreter, almost as if it's a different language, and to learn how to use duality speak, the sooner we will start winning. You are right. When I quit being a Republican and started spending time in Democrat spaces, language was actually the biggest difference. So for example, if I were to say 1 in 5 children are hungry and I'm going to advocate for something like SNAP, one of the first things you learn in public policy writing is something called a problem definition. And so that's your duty to define the problem when you are writing your policy proposal. So you don't have to do this if the problem's obvious. So for example, if I were to say violent crime is up 10%, we would all know that violent crime is bad. Now, if I were to say that nitrates levels are up 10%, I would then have to explain why nitrates in water is bad, because it's not general knowledge that nitrate levels in water is high. Does that make sense? So back to food stamps. When I'm in leftist spaces and I say, hey, 1 in 5 children are hungry, that problem's immediately defined for them. They want to solve child hunger. The thing is that you have to understand about conservatives is that they don't care about other groups of people just like out of the kindness of their heart. It has to pertain back to them. So if I'm talking in a conservative space, I would have to say something like 1 in 5 children in our school district suffers from hunger. Studies show that children that are hungry do not learn and make good grades and are more likely to drop out. The more students have lower grades and drop out, that's going to increase our crime, and it's going to ultimately cost the taxpayers more money. Also, by expanding food stamps, we ensure that your small rural communities keep their grocery stores open so that everybody has access to food. And here is where the left really screws up. They not only don't know how to speak to two different groups of people in their messaging, but remember what I said in the last video about semantics and identity politics. Just as the right needs things to pertain to them, the left does. And whether it's in a more ethical or moral way, it doesn't matter. Because I have made this argument before about food stamps and, the benefit it has to society. And there will be a leftist that said, well, kids just need to eat. I know that. You know that. We're normal, but they're not. Likewise, I was talking about the way that racial resentment actually hurts the person that holds it, the racist person, right? That it isn't good for them, that it takes years off their life. It's a miserable way to live. Is that worse than being the victim of racism? Absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying. But when I make a video about that, right, trying to rope the right in a little bit, there's always going to be those people that say, oh, well, they deserve it, they this, they that. I know that. But the thing is we need to learn to not have to have everything tailored to our ears, because that is deliberately done by the right, because it not only separates us from them, but it separates us amongst each other. The right is very privy to where our soft spot is. That's why they ran all of the trans ads, is because that was going to keep the right over here. And even within the left, it started to break off into factions where, well, I can really kind of not care about the trans thing, that's not really my thing, and it gets people questioning and wondering, because the left also doesn't understand that the right, like I said, operates in a conglomerate. When they're trying to take trans rights away, they're really trying to implement all of Project 2025 to take everybody's rights away. And so when you break the Republican Party down into understanding that it only does 4 things, then you're going to be more willing to combat it when you understand that whatever group you're sticking up for, whatever dipshittery they're doing, if you view it as combating one of those 4 things or all of Project 2025, you become a better and more consistent advocate. So let me know in the comments if there's other examples you want for how I would speak to somebody on the left versus the right.